Hello, I'm live. I want to give you guys a brief update. Very unusual kind of way of doing it. I wanted to talk to you guys about the collective energy and some of the things I've noticed on YouTube when it comes to the twin flame path. I think there's a huge misconception when it comes to separation. And I think the one thing you guys need to understand is when you're listening to readings, you need to understand there is no disconnection. So when you're listening to readings and it's divine feminines and no communication, divine feminines or masculines and no contact, or in communication, it's all collective energy. Now, it all comes down to the wave you're in. And I'm finding there is this misinterpretation going on with the collective of where you get your information from and how relevant it is to you. And I need you guys to understand, even me being in reunion, I go through the same energy shifts. So, don't think for a second you're missing out. Don't think for a second that you won't have to continue doing the work. Because when I do listen to readings and they're saying that there's no communication or there's no contact, we do get into this frequency where we feel bad about that, obviously, but we don't actually understand that a lot of the work and a lot of the spiritual energies of what we're going through is exactly the same, be it you're in union or you're not. I wanted to come to you guys and mention that because when we're looking at readings, and especially when we're focusing on the karmic energy, and I'm incredibly sick and I'm trying to get all my videos done with grumpy clients as well, we need to understand where we're getting our information from and understand that this transformation that goes on in us is a lifelong process. So, sometimes if you are, for instance, in contact, you still can listen to videos that say no contact, especially when the communication at the moment is quite sparse. So you'll find at the moment the divine masculines, and I've been seeing a lot of signs this morning. I've been seeing the yin symbol, the yang symbol, triangles, inverted, upright, roundabouts, in a sense that there's a cycle going on. There's been a lot of songs coming up as well. Potentially at the moment, I do feel that the masculines are going through a secondary stage of the dark night of the soul. And I'm also feeling a lot of energy of interference around them, really breaking down paradigms of what is appropriate. And this can be, especially with the nodes being in Cancer and Capricorn, they're, looking at their family related dynamics, looking at their expectations that society has put on them. Their pain body experiences with their family, their kin, the karmics, the children. When we look at our process as feminines of what we've gone through, what we do need to understand is, we can get triggered because we can look at it and go, bloody hell, it took us a long time. So, our egoic experience can tell us that it's going to take a year. I don't think it is. And I did change the channel name to 5D for the simple reasons that we're very much being squeezed into the 5D. So our ascension symptoms with the astrology is very important. And I have noticed, other channels are really talking about that, the integration of that energy. The upgrades we're having is like we're being squeezed through an umbilical cord into this new way of being. Anytime we are getting too dense in the reality, we're too 3D. And it's not that 3D is wrong and that it's not relative and it's not connected to what we're going through. It's more to do with the fact that it's that process. You go through the 7 stages of healing. There could be a download that you have and you're really struggling with something on the 3D. When you reach a certain level, you're more so inclined to self-manage yourself. So you're going to be having that self-talk where you're going to be saying, no, this is a codependent pattern, or this is a pain body experience, this is a childhood-related wound. You're also going to pick up on people's frequencies a lot more. So, for me, for instance, when I'm around particular vibrations, especially energies connected to children, connected to karmics, I vibrationally feel their energy. So you will notice that. And, that term that I used, rejection as God's protection, is basically the truth, because energetically I feel that we're really looking at things And how do I put it? We're sensing something's off. We're sensing something's not in alignment. And it's not that you're not open to the experience. Some of these experiences that you go through in the twin flame path, you're looking at it going, you've got to be batshit crazy. Like, this doesn't look like a 3D reality like it should be working. Why is this, why is this so right now? Where is this happy ending, so to speak? And it's not that you're not going to get the happy ending. It's that some of these scenarios, in a karmic sense, unfortunately, you're physically witnessing them or feeling that direct vibration. So while those vibrations are going on, it is quite an icky situation. Now, with your twins, with your masculines, if they're going through a transitional state and you guys are in absolutely no communication, the higher up in vibration you get to the point where you're ascending, what you'll find is you'll be detaching from their energy naturally. So, and then when you get to a point where you've reached a level and you know your energy and you're feeling it and you're okay with it, all of a sudden you'll get the downloads where you're feeling quite heavy energy, because the detachment and their upgrade, you'll energetically feel their upgrade. When counterparts get sick, it's because you're having a spiritual upgrade. It's because you've purged a cycle. And look, even from Friday last week for me, there was a lot going on. And we are moving into the moon phase of the Virgo moon. And what you're going to find is there are huge trigger points. And some of you would have been really experiencing tower moments, a lot of aggression in your energy, a lot of I'm not going back over this old path. I'm really wanting to liberate yourself, because you're detached from a codependent pattern. You've detached from a way of being, and you're checking what's good for you and what's not. And sometimes that can have some sense and form of guilt connected to it. Yeah, so is my twin. So you'll find with the vomiting, with the nausea, with the flu-like symptoms, especially when it's in your head, there's heart chakra activation. So yes, okay, honestly, we do need to look at the medical aspect of things. I'm not a doctor, but very separately, spiritually, what I have noticed is when there's areas of ailments coming up, it's you're hearing the download. So, when your head's really groggy, you're getting the download, but your ego is not matching what the crown is telling you. And the heart chakra activation we're having, there's a lot of base chakra as well, because it's family-related dynamics with the nodes being in Cancer. Everyone collectively is moving into a frequency where it is 3D, because what we're doing is actually forming that foundation for 2020. So it's not a nice transition. So don't feel that if you're not with your twin, that you're not doing work for the twin flame path. You're in alignment, you're just doing it separately. And even for those that are in reunion at the moment, you find there is this aspect of separation, because everyone is very busy trying to get the foundational state correct, trying to get that balance right. So sometimes you can feel left out because you're thinking, what the hell is my twin doing? Where are they? But breaking the codependent pattern and coming into your own, even in the readings, can come across as very singular. And, if you're triggered and you haven't done that work, you can look at it very old fashioned of, this is never going to be, this is not a relationship. Twins do have very different relationships. They're not the paradigm, so to speak. So when you do find you attract a soulmate energy or a karmic energy, what you tend to find is at some point it just doesn't match your frequency, because it's not what your soul was ever. And so you will directly purge it. So when you do come into reunion with your twin, what you find is, you do take on a traditional role to a degree, but then it revolts it, because you guys aren't directly traditional. You're very separate beings, but you're identical in many ways, because you're not, both of you are teaching each other to have your unique light and to do the work on yourselves. Because in the initial stages, when you first meet your twin, you are very, the energy, you feel the energy. And I was thinking of, we go through stages through the twin flame path where we're listening to music and it relates to us, and then it doesn't relate to us, because you've outgrown that way of being. So lyrics will literally speak magnitudes about the vibration of what's going on inside you. And then later when you go back to that song, You look at how much you actually have evolved. So sometimes when you're in a good frequency, it's healthy to go back and listen to those old songs just to show yourself how far you've actually come. You'll also feel as though you're hearing lyrics in your head, or if you were to write a song about the twin flame path, you notice it takes on many storylines because it's not one set storyline. So when you're getting stuck and you're thinking, God, is this story going to be the same forever? No, it's not, because it continually evolves because you continually are evolving. I do think there are some nasty energies around at the moment. And as I said, even collectively, I have been noticing, and you need to pay attention to the things that are happening around you. That's collective energy, okay? So you'll notice you will energetically go through a shift. You could be displaying a vibration, and then bang, 2 weeks later, everything around you is happening very similar. And you're like, oh, I've been there. I noticed from Thursday, I was getting ascension symptoms. I was feeling quite that situations were out of alignment. I mean, all of us collectively are trying to balance our work front, balance our home front, our family dynamics. I've got a father that's unwell. I've got a mother that's unwell. My twins got children, balancing that, balancing work. And we're one person. And I feel for feminines at the moment, and especially when you look at astrology, it's not you've bitten off too much that you can chew. It's trying to find that balance, and the astrology is pushing us through this transit. Now, the Virgo moon is going to bring up some trigger points, but it doesn't have to be bad. It's more to the point where you're looking at the imbalances. It's a very detached way, so it can come across as quite an egoic state. And it can also be to the point where you're quite sharp with your words and direct. This is what I need. This is what it is. This is imbalanced. This is how it's going to be. So it's not that that's right, but I do feel feminines energetically have been doing a lot of spiritual work on themselves. They're very tired. There can be a lot of aggression coming through and frustration with the path. Again, it is to do with the astrology. Now, with Pluto, we need to understand, and I'm trying to integrate the moon phases into the videos, as well as hyperlink in what houses are going to come up for you. And I'm covering at the moment, I've only done one video and it was Sagittarius, which is funny because Jupiter's going direct the 1st of September. And I had to do that video 5 times, and I had to tune into the reason why it was coming through so heavily. Now, the aspects that the planets are making at the moment, Jupiter, I kept hearing, what happens when planets go direct? And it's not like we don't know what happens when planets go direct, but when you get that as a download, it's pretty friggin' relevant. So, and I kind of bounce off between, Intuitive Perceptions, Mark, and Giggle Glimmer. We've been talking on and off. And when I see things, I usually mention it to them. And it was before the Leo King launched his video, I had said Neptune is making an aspect. I keep hearing Neptune. Now, Jupiter as well is the planet of expansion. And obviously with Sagittarius and Jupiter, again, biting off more than you can chew. Now, that transit, I was mentioning around July that there would be chops and changes, that there would be scenarios where we would get to and we'd have to reshuffle it because it wasn't quite fitting. I'm still feeling that energy is relevant, but it's more occurring from here into September. And as we know with eclipses, it takes 6 to 12 months for that transitional state to happen. So the download I was getting is there's going to be a lot coming at you, and that's on both sides of the fence. So we can potentially feel very nauseous. The toxic energies the masculines are experiencing, what's happening is empathically so, they're absorbing the frequencies and purging the frequencies. So in old days gone by, it could have been food they had, alcohol, codependent patterns. They would have absorbed that frequency, yet it would have been okay in their bodies. Now their bodies are directly rejecting that, and certain codependent patterns that all of us had, it's suddenly they're not working for us anymore. So it might have been the quick fix of sweeping things under the carpet. I can get back to it. We know we can't do that anymore. There's also the chemical imbalances and the things that we're putting into our body. And the Virgo moon is about a good health check. It's about checking yourself, getting yourself into alignment, getting into light body frequency, getting your diet back in order, some exercise. You need to be very earthbound. So get out in Mother Nature, even if you're sick. I mean, if you could see me, it's like shocking. I've got cuts all down my lip. Get to a point where you can anchor your energy in, even if it's just for a few hours. You know, go and do that so you can get yourself grounded. Things are shifting, but I feel vibrationally, our ego tells us, look at the 3D. What can we do to solve this situation? But spiritually, we do know, especially when we get our downloads from our crown, any belief that we're having in a blockage in the path, we're co-creating that, right? So with that co-creation, what's happening with masculines is they're actually realizing, regardless of what a paradigm is, what an expectation is, what people need on them, that can only last so long before it breaks. So it's a path energetically that they physically have to go through, as we do, as we have. You can't teach somebody something, and it's past life related as well as the here and now, and it's part of what their soul chose. You both are together to help upgrade each other. So a lot of the times when we're getting very blocked in the path, we don't trust the process because we're panicked and we're having a need and we're wanting things to move and we're tired of the same vibration. The more you're anchoring that energy in, the more you're making it a reality. And I do have to work very hard at checking myself and trying not to get aggressive with that frequency because it is very frustrating. You can see, especially as an empath, a psychic, a twin, you go through various stages in the journey, and you know, you might have been the go-to person where everyone come to you and you would help them and you would lift them up and you would, you know, try and do things to prevent drama from occurring. And then you would have gone through a secondary stage where you may have not wanted to say anything because the people you were helping, they were biting your hand. And then people would tell you off and say, why aren't you giving me advice? Well, because you actually want me to listen, so now I'm listening. And then you get to this next stage where you're like, they need to learn. And it's something that comes naturally. It's something that we directly experience. There are certain things in life that are a soul path, that are part of a process. And even if energetically we feel they're wrong, and a beautiful lady that is a friend of mine who's also a client, her name's Sula, big shout out. She always is a loving supporter of me. She explained, which, you know, when we look at karmic frequency, and it's anything in general, we're getting triggered thinking there's an imbalance in the planet, but what we don't understand is as feminines, we're creators. Mother Earth is a creator, but it also has the divine balance. Universe can't live or exist without both paradigms. So there's two sides to every coin, and there is the light and the dark, and not one is right, not one is wrong, and they all are necessary for the way of life. If we had good all the time, we wouldn't be here. Okay, I used to say, you think you're going to hell, you're in hell. But it's not, because unless you experience something nasty, you can't appreciate something beautiful. And some of you will think through the twin flame path, how can you have love after so many things occur? Is because love is such a conditioned paradigm. Just because somebody does something, it doesn't mean to say you don't love them. And it's a battle that you have within you that at some point it does get beyond a joke. Now, my battery is getting hot, so I'm going to have to go. When I get home, I'll do a bit more of an update. But I just want you guys to know that there are changes going on in the masculine's life, and it is karmic related. It is to do with them owning their power. Their lower chakras are activated. There is an aggressive point coming, but anything that it's their power. They have to own their power. It's in their hands where they can change these things. You are a bystander at this point temporarily, but feminines, you guys are changing things too. Don't feel that what you're doing in separation isn't for the reunion. It is. And it's closer than you think. Love and light. I'm not better.